Greetings and salutations, men, women, and children of all ages. Welcome in to No One Asked Us. He's Craig. I'm Logan. One of us is not in our normal spot, but we're here. We're here. It's Monday evening. It's No One Asked Us. We got a lot to talk about. Illinois football is rolling after a barn burner in Champaign on Saturday. We're going to talk about the win over Iowa, plus many other things on the docket to talk about today. Welcome in, though. He is Craig. I am Logan. This is episode 74. Is that right? I know a lot of our stuff hasn't been updated. We're not in the best of shape. I'll just let you know now. But here we are. It is episode 74. No One Asked Us. Don't forget to give us a follow on all of our social media at No One Asked Us Pod on Twitter. He's at Craig W. Choate. I'm at the Logan Lee. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. Shoot us an email if you want us to reach out to us that way. No One Asked Us 2021 at gmail.com. As always, chapters are in the description. If you have something you're coming here to listen to, hear us talk about, probably Illinois football, you can jump ahead to that, or you can jump ahead to anything else as well. We are so close to 200 subscribers on YouTube. So if you're listening to this or you're watching this and you have not subscribed to our channel, first off, welcome if you're a first-time listener or first-time viewer. Second of all, please hit that subscribe button. We're very close. I know Craig is really pushing for 1,000.
I think it happens before the basketball season ends.
Okay, well, we'll have to see. We're a ways from there.
For March Madness.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. March Madness mullet. But we're close to 200. So please hit that subscribe button. It would be very much appreciative. I keep hearing from people that are checking in on the show, watching the show, people that don't even really know what we're talking about, that are just supporting us because we're us. So if you're one of these people, thank you. But yeah, we're excited to be here. What's that?
Friends. We have friends.
We do have friends. That's good to know. Craig, how are you? How's your Monday? You're not in your normal studio. You're not in your normal office. You want to talk about what you've been doing, what you've been up to?
I'm exhausted as well.
Why you're not at home?
It's been a long weekend. Yeah, we had a wedding to go to in Madison on Saturday. So we left Louisville Friday night, drove me 5.5 hours to Chicago Friday night, and then the 2 on Saturday to Madison, had the wedding, drove back on Sunday, and it's been a long weekend. So yes, I'm currently in Chicago. Took a couple of days off because Christy's weekend is Monday, Tuesday, so I took the days off, and we're here till a couple more days. But yeah, it's been a lot of nonstop doing stuff with our family and friends, and not a lot of sports watching, which I'm okay with after Friday afternoon. But I did catch what I could of the Illinois football game, so I'm excited to talk about that, and I'm excited to talk about the AP ranked Illini football team. Holy cow.
First time we've been able to say that in quite a while.
Since we were in Carbondale.
Yeah, yes, that's a good point. We were in Carbondale. We'll talk about that. Shortly. So are you more tired now or after whatever it was, 36 rounds, 36 holes of golf or whatever you did, or last weekend?
Oh, I'm more tired now.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. We were just visiting with her grandma, and I was sitting in the chair, like eyes were closing, and I was hoping to come here and pop a Red Bull, but I forgot to put the Red Bull in the fridge, so the Red Bull's not cold. So if I fall asleep mid-show, can you carry it to the end?
I'm gonna do my best. I'm just thrilled to hear that you've been exhausted out by just talking to her grandma. That's neither here nor there. I know you've been a little busy. Did anything catch your eye this week?
Yeah, I wrote one thing down, but I'm going to mention something else. I do want to say the first one because it's been almost a week now that this happened. Bobby Wagner just trucking the streaker on Monday Night Football was the best thing I've seen in a long freaking time.
Yes.
I know that the streak, it wasn't really a streaker because whatever, the protester is now suing Wagner for whatever he did, but that's stupid. But I wish that would happen more often. If you run on a football field or even a baseball field, I wish the players would just lay your ass out, because that might stop people from doing it. Doubt it, but yeah, I just wanted to mention that because it was fantastic. My moment, or whatever we're calling it, what caught my eye, Again, I was at a wedding Saturday, so I wasn't watching any of this. Didn't watch a single play. But I get the score updates every time SIU scores or their opponent scores. And I was quickly, SIU was down 14-0. I was like, okay. Thought they might win this one on the road at Missouri State, but whatever. Missouri State was preseason top 10. Maybe they're figuring it out. And then we got to do another wedding stuff, and I pulled my phone back out, and it's 38-14 SIU. I'm like, oh, what just happened? 38 unanswered from Salukis was a pleasant surprise and a road dub. So yeah, give the Salukis some shout outs. We haven't talked about them since they beat Northwestern, I don't think, but 4 in a row now for the Salukis and back in the top. I think they're 16 now in the country, but finally wrote the ship and playing well. So shout out Nick Hill and Saluki Nation.
Yeah, they've been playing very well. I wasn't sure what this season was going to be for them, especially kind of the way they started, but that win over Northwestern, and ever since then they have been a very different ball team. So good to see that.
Who they play this week. They play Western this week.
Okay.
And those of you from Central Illinois that are listening might recognize these names. Nick Baker is the quarterback at SIU.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Western Illinois starting quarterback is Clay Bruno, who replaced Nick Baker at Rochester. So it's 2 Rochester QBs going head-to-head for Southern and Western on Saturday. So those of you from Central Illinois might tune in or at least look at the stats to see how each of them did. Western's not very good, so SIU should win. But that's a cool little storyline heading into that game.
Yeah, really cool. I'm not going to worry about what caught my eye because, quite frankly, I just don't have anything. Let's talk about honestly, I've been like scrolling through like my Twitter. That's usually what I do. Yeah, like if I see anything that like
me too
caught my eye, but like literally nothing. It's all Illinois football or stuff we're going to talk about later in the show. So I'm not going to worry about it. We're going to move on. What do you think? From last week we asked, and this was going into the Iowa game. We asked the question, how would you rate, or what grade would you give to the Illini football season up to that point? And we gave the 4 options as A, B, C, or D. This is even before Iowa, and 49% of the voters said 40 or said A. 46% said B. Obviously it was one of those two. Whoever voted C, I'm not sure what you were expecting, or if you're just out here to troll, whatever the case may be. But it was pretty much a 50-50 split, which I think is right where we kind of said. Going into that game, that made sense. We both kind of agreed on B plus, A minus type of situation. Had they beat Indiana, it would obviously be an A. I voted A, but as I said, we agreed on that kind of A minus B plus split. So the 50-50 split essentially doesn't really surprise me. So that's good to see. And now if we would ask the question again, I mean, obviously I think even more people would probably lean more towards the A. It wasn't a pretty game, but it's a win against a team that was projected to finish towards the top of the division. So
they were my pick to win the West.
Yeah, so that's pretty impressive. Do you have a question for us this week? Because you had mentioned you had one. I don't know. We actually talked about it.
I can't remember what it was. I had one last night. I didn't write it down.
What good are you?
Yeah, I can't remember. I can't remember what it was. I think it had something to do with bowls, either bowl games or it might have been the one I threw out last week before we switched. Like, who's your pick to win the West?
I got a good one.
At this point. Okay, throw it.
Will Chase Brown be a Heisman finalist?
Okay, we can throw it out there.
Why not? I mean, I think I have an answer, and I think a lot of people will have an answer. But so it's a yes or no. Top 5.
Is he at New York?
Well, is he going to New York? Is that top 3 or is that top 5?
It varies. I think they're just like, all right, 3 people legitimately have a shot, we'll invite those 3. But if 5 people legitimately have a shot, they invite the 5. I think it varies from year to year how many people go to New York.
Let's say top 5.
Will Chase Brown finish top 5?
Yes.
Okay.
Will Chase Brown, the Illini running back, who currently leads the country in rushing yards. Granted, there are some caveats to those numbers if you really kind of dig into them.
The guy in second.
Well, yeah, just the fact that Chase Brown has carried the ball a heck of a lot more than other people, but not when he needed to. We'll get into that. Will Chase Brown finish in the top 5 of the Heisman voting when we get to that point? It's pretty simple. I'm just curious to see what people say. I think we have a lot of Illinois fans in here, so there's probably going to be some optimism, just based on those numbers. But I mean, I think I know what the answer is, and I'm sure you probably know what the answer is too. But why not? Let's just throw it out there. Let's just see how
he deserves more hype than he's got right now.
I would agree. So that'll be our question for this week. We'll have that up on our Twitter on Tuesday. All right, let's get into this Illini football team. As we mentioned already, Illinois beat Iowa in a primetime game Saturday night in front of a pretty good sized crowd. I don't remember seeing what the final attendance was. I knew plenty of people.
Gamecast says 44.
I was going to say
910.
Yeah, I was thinking I saw around 45. So
yeah,
it looked like a good crowd. It's had to be one of the best crowds they've had there in a long time. I had family there. I know a lot of people that were there. I would have loved to have been there. Had that game been played in the same weekend that Oakwood had their homecoming, I would have been there. But I wasn't going to be able to go back for that. But they do pull off the win. A ugly battle, high offensive showdown, high scoring showdown Saturday, 9-6 over Iowa. It was kind of what we expected it to be. Now, granted, we talked about the over-under, and we knew what the over-under was, and the gambler on the show, I believe, took the over for some dumb reason. Holy moly.
Why don't you at me next time? Instead of subtweeting me, why don't you just at me next time? Yeah, I saw it. And I was going to reply, but then I didn't.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, so the over-under, what we say, 35, I think is what it was?
35 and a half.
Yeah. Whoever thought that was going to be more than that is just crazy.
I texted you. I had like 20-17 as the final, which would have been over. So I went with the over.
9-6 is what we got.
You make me sound like a bad gambler.
We got 5.
I'm positive on the year here.
I'm not going to talk about my picks this week. 5 field goals ultimately is what we got. 0 touchdowns were scored. But hey, a win is a win. And was it going to be a defensive battle? We knew it was going to be a defensive battle. But yeah, so the biggest storyline for Illinois during the game, outside of the win itself, was Tommy DeVito going down. I believe it was in the second quarter, I think. I don't remember exactly now. It's been a couple days since this happened, but so he went down fairly early in the game. Art Sitkowski came in and was good enough. I mean, running the offense to what he could. I mean, that Iowa defense is good. Just as we know, the Illinois defense is good. These are both 2 of the best defenses in the country, of the conference, if not the country. And it showed. But Sitkowski came in, completed 13 passes, only threw for 74 yards. Chase Brown, again, was huge. He didn't do a lot early. He finally broke off for a couple long runs later on, but he rushed the ball 31 times for 146 yards. Not a lot through the air. The Illini defense allowed just 52 rushing yards from Iowa. They did give up 170 yards in the air. But either way, it is a win. It is a 9-6 ugly victory over the Hawkeyes at home, which was much needed because now you're running off 2 in a row, going into another. I don't want to say rather. I mean, they're all important at this point, but this is going to be a tough Minnesota game they're going to see on Saturday. But as we did mention, Illinois now in the top 25 for the first time since 2011. Do you remember what happened that season? I went back and looked at it. Looked at how
that's what I'm going to do right now. Was that the season they started 6-0 and then ended 0-6? Yeah,
it was. I had a friend text me and ask if that was the Rose Bowl year. And I said, no, that was 08. But then I looked back on it. I remember, yes, that was the season that Illinois started the season 6-0. And then they were ranked for 2 weeks. And then they lost to Ohio State. And then they lost their next 6 after that. And then they did play in a bowl game. I do think they won the bowl game.
Yes.
But
they beat UCLA.
Yeah. So that was the last time Illinois was ranked.
it's one of those weird times. I specifically remember that Ohio State game when Illinois was 6-0.
Yeah.
They were 16th in the country, and Ohio State was unranked because they were 3-3 in the country. They were 3-3, so they were unranked. And I specifically remember it was the same day as per usual as an SIU game. So we went and tailgated at SIU, but instead of going to the SIU game, we went back to Pinch Penny and watched the Illinois Ohio State game because, as you do, at that time, and I remember we were on the table that sat up by itself, like kind of on the stage, in the corner. That's where we would always go, and we were up there watching it, like just shaking our head. 17-7 final. Just an not embarrassment, but just a dud of a game, kind of like Saturday night.
Yeah.
But that's one of those moments that I specifically remember. Illinois is 6-0 and ranked. Ohio State's 3-3 unranked. This is the moment, and then that happened.
Yeah,
lost Ron Zucker's job.
Yeah, that was an ugly season. But either way, last time Illinois was ranked was then. That was October 16th, 2011. Was the last time that they were nationally ranked, and now they are ranked 24th. Going back to this Iowa game, I know you were a little preoccupied. Were you able to catch much of this game? Were you able to follow along? Do you know what I was referencing when I said Chase Brown should have ran the ball a few more times than he actually did?
So
that was ugly.
Like I said, obviously I've said it 3 times already. I was at a wedding reception Saturday night. And I told Christy going in, I was like, are you going to be mad if I'm on my phone the whole time? She looked at me. I was like, I'm kidding. I'm not going to be on my phone the whole time. Like, I'm going to pop in and check and see how it's going, but I'm not going to be on my phone the whole time. Guess who was on the phone the whole time? But I mean, my phone was out streaming it on YouTube TV, did not have any sound on. Like, I was at the table. I was interacting. I was being social still, but the game was on. And it helped that 2 of the other guys had money on the game too, so they were watching. So it helped that I had some partners in crime there. But yes, I was watching, no sound on, so I don't know a lot of what was said or like a ton of the details, but I do know what you're talking about, the Russell Wilson moment of Super Bowl, whatever, 51, whatever it was when he threw the pick. And then again this week when he didn't see a wide open receiver on Thursday Night Football and threw a bad pass. But yes, I saw that play, the Sitkowski terrible decision. I think I had a few choice words for Sitkowski in the text chain after that. And then I also saw the fumble that eventually got called back. Yeah. And I mean, what does this tell you about where mentally I guess was with the program? Because I think I'm just by the result I've changed. That happened, and I was like, well, all right, that seems to make sense. Yeah. That's par for the course. They returned the fumble, and then I saw the replay and changed it. But my thoughts were this offense just doesn't flow with Sitkowski.
No.
It's crazy how much better things looked with DeVito. Even before he got hurt, I sent a text in my group chat. I love this offense. They were showing plays they hadn't shown all season, which I kind of expected in this game. I expect each game from here on out, I expect there to be offensive plays and play calls that we haven't seen yet this season. I think that's one thing Barry Lunny's good at, is he doesn't show the entire playbook every single game. He keeps stuff in his back pocket so they don't so the opponent doesn't have that to prepare for. But I also think he just throws stuff out there to mess with the opponent. Like, there were some plays that I saw that I'm like, okay, that's a stupid play. But then I'm like, all right, he's just putting it out there. So Minnesota has to be like, hey, they lined up like this last week and they ran this play. Now, it didn't work, but we got to be ready for that. And then you hit them with something completely different. Yeah. So I know the offensive output didn't show because they only scored 9 points, no touchdowns. But I think with DeVito, this team is capable. They would have put up 2 or 3 touchdowns had DeVito played the entire game. So I'm not worried because DeVito will be back, just maybe not this week.
Yeah.
But yeah, that my big takeaway is Sitkowski's just not. Yeah. He's not it. He's a serviceable backup if you need him for a second half like this. But if he's the quarterback the rest of the season, it's reason for concern. But hopefully and luckily, I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, I agree. as you mentioned, there was the 2 plays late in the game where I don't understand why Chase Brown didn't get the ball. There was you mentioned the pick that Sikowski threw. It just, the decision making was bad. I think the play calling was bad. You have the nation's leading rusher. You're within 5 yards, 7 yards, whatever from the end zone. Give him the ball. Like, what are we doing? Like, I tweeted fire Lenny. Like, I was obviously being sarcastic.
I didn't see that.
I don't think he should be fired, but like there was some choices that were made down the stretch of that game that I just did not agree with. Yeah, the DeVito injury obviously is going to be a factor here because that does not help you going into this game. Isaiah Williams also went down in the game. Granted, he did not have a great game when he was on the field. I do believe he fumbled twice, I think. One of them on a punt return, and he wasn't great. But I think this team doesn't have a ton of firepower. I think that's what you're going to notice here is Tommy DeVito is our favorite word, is a competent quarterback and can run a competent offense. And you do have a legitimate running back in your backfield. And there is some talent out on the ends, but there's not a lot of firepower there. Your defense is going to keep you in games. I think this Illinois team is certainly capable of making it all the way to, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself again. I think they are capable of making it to Indianapolis for the Big Ten championship game. If they were to get to that point, they're still going to get throttled by Ohio State. They're not that good. But they're going to be in for a big test this weekend with Minnesota without Tommy DeVito. I think that's going to be the biggest thing to look ahead to, because Minnesota is a pretty good team. They do have a loss, but they were without their offense in that game. I think they're the better team in this matchup. I have them a little lower in my power rankings when we get to that point, but I think that this is a game that Minnesota is favored in this game, and they should be, especially if Illinois is not going to have Tommy DeVito. So, but yeah, that's the recap, I think, from Saturday. Anything else you can talk about from Saturday's game before we move on fully to Minnesota?
DeVito has not been ruled out yet, but
No.
everything that was said today at the Monday weekly presser seems to lead to DeVito being out, and the Vegas line kind of shows that. And Vegas normally, I don't know how they do it, but Vegas normally knows injury status before everyone else. And I don't know if that's the coaches actually telling them or whatnot, but the line reads like it's going to be Sikowski. So I would expect that. And Fabrizio, I think I'm saying his name right. Fabrizio Pintone.
Yeah.
Pinton. I don't know how to say it. Like I said, was not listening to the broadcast. Was he replacing Caleb?
I think Caleb's was hurt or something. Is what I understand.
Okay.
I don't know. I was doing a little bit of research on Twitter before the game when I noticed that, and some people were mentioning that I don't know. I don't know the
he
whole
was
story.
Dressed. Caleb was dressed.
He was dressed, but I think he was hurt or something. He wasn't able to go full strength or something. So they let the other kid come in, and he hit all 3 of his field goal attempts. So good on him to do that. I don't know what the situation will be for this Saturday. But yeah, that is another injury thing of note. So yeah, Minnesota comes to town Saturday. That is a noon Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time kickoff from Memorial Stadium on Saturday. That game will be on Big Ten Network. Minnesota, as we did mention, is the favorite right now, and I don't know if they have DeVito, that might be different, but we'll just have to see. It's certainly a game.
What is it?
Is capable.
Is it 5 right now?
It was 5 when I looked earlier
5.
today.
Yeah, I feel like
I don't know if that's changed or not.
It would be like 1 or 2 for Minnesota favored if DeVito was playing, probably. It might be or a pick 'em. But yeah, I think DeVito's definitely worth a couple points.
Yeah. So we'll have to see. It's going to be another big game for Illinois. If they can pull it off, they're going to be looking really good for the that second half stretch of the season. So
it's the 2 best defenses in the country playing. Did you notice that?
I didn't realize Minnesota was that high.
Illinois allows 8 points per game. Minnesota allows 8.8 points per game. That's 1 and 2. Minnesota allows 222 yards per game. Illinois allows 228 yards per game. That's 1 and 2.
All right. Could be another high-scoring affair on Saturday. But either way,
Should I
big game.
take the over again?
Don't. Actually, yeah, this time probably should. You probably should take the over. It'll probably be like 50 to 47 or something.
I will say Illinois has played Minnesota well in the past under PJ Fleck.
That's true.
They beat them in Champaign in 2018, I believe. Remember that AJ Bush game where he had like 400 total yards? And then they beat him last year in Minneapolis. So
they are more than capable of winning this game. There's only one game on the schedule left this year that I am immediately ruling Illinois out of.
I had that exact thought Saturday night while I was sitting there watching this. I was like, it feels so nice to be watching this and not have in the back of my head, man, this is going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah.
Like the fact that we can watch games now and think Illinois can win every single game they're in. And I don't think there's any reason to say they can't beat Michigan. I think they can.
Right. Yeah, they can.
Will they? Probably not. It's at the big house. I don't think it's likely. But the way Illinois plays and the way this defense plays and the offense complements the defense controlling the clock and the game, I don't know that Illinois would be out of many games this season outside the teams in the top 5, which I know Michigan is, but we shall see, I guess.
We'll see. Hopefully it's just not a replication of 2011. That would be the absolute worst possible scenario. They
were 6-0 in 2011. We're 5-1 now.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Big difference. Huge difference.
Should be 6-0.
Should be 6-0, exactly. All right. So that's week 7 against Minnesota. We'll go ahead and recap the rest of the week in the Big Ten. Nebraska on Friday night went to Rutgers and took down Rutgers in Piscataway, 14-13. Michigan over Indiana, 31-10. Purdue went to Maryland, beat them by a couple points, 31-29. Wisconsin big over Northwestern, 42-7. And then Ohio State big over Michigan State, 49-20. Any real?
Did you see? No real surprises, but prayers up to Mike Hart.
Yeah. Yes. I wasn't following
that was
all
scary.
That, but yeah.
Michigan running backs coach I think I saw today had a seizure on the sideline during the game. Whew, that's scary stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that you as much as me, because were you in Carbondale for Jerry Kill at all?
No, I was not
there
for that era.
I went to a couple of games that Jerry coached before I went to college there, and he has that problem. He has seizures, and I know he's still coaching now, but it's a scary situation. So that's I think he's doing better. I think he's out of the hospital, but Mike Hart, man, take care of yourself. Yeah. I know you're listening to this.
I'm sure. All right. And then this week, the big game is the noon. Michigan is again on the big noon kickoff.
It's like 3 weeks in a row, right?
This time it's an actual meaningful game. They host Penn State, who is the third undefeated Big Ten team left. Penn State at Michigan State noon on Saturday. Maryland goes to Indiana. Wisconsin travels to Michigan State, and then Nebraska goes to Purdue, as well as Minnesota at Illinois. All right, we're going to move on to power rankings. I'm not sure that one of us is very prepared for this, which means that one of us
how much research I've done this week.
One of us is prepared for this. However, I don't think either of us are really prepared for the segment after this. So that's going to be a real mess. But we're going to have some fun with power rankings. Let's go ahead and start. Let's give me your bottom 3. We'll just do that. 14. Actually, no, give me your bottom 4, 14 through 11.
Okay. We have a new team in the bottom 4.
Oh,
Northwestern stays at 14.
Okay.
So that's not the new team. Northwestern stays at 14. Indiana stays at 13. Both teams lost. No reason to move either of them up. Rutgers drops down 1 spot from 11 to 12 after their loss to Nebraska, which means Nebraska leaves the bottom 4 and Michigan State enters the bottom 4 at 11. Another loss for Michigan State. I think I saw Mel Tucker's record is now 20-18 at Michigan State, and he's getting paid $9.5 million a year. It's just That was such a terrible decision.
Not what you want. Not what you want. Pretty much the same for me. I left my 14 through 12 the same. So I have Northwestern 14. I have Rutgers still at 13, Indiana at 12. And then I also have Michigan State falling a spot into spot number 11. All right, give me 10 through 7.
Not a ton of changes, like drastic changes from here, but a couple flip-flops. Nebraska at 10, up 2 spots. They're now back to 500 on the year with another Big Ten win. Tied for the lead in the Big Ten West at 2-1. Wisconsin stays at 9, I believe. Yeah, Wisconsin stays at 9, and then Iowa and Illinois flip-flop. Iowa down to 8, Illinois up to 7. It's all 7 to 10 right there.
Really?
What?
Interesting. Okay. That's good. I also have Nebraska at 10, moving them up a spot from where they were last week. I left my 9 and 8 the same. I have Wisconsin in the 9 spot, and I know they're better than this, and we'll have to see what happens on Saturday, but I still have Minnesota in the 8 spot. They didn't play this week. I left them where they were. They'll probably move up after they probably beat Illinois on Saturday, but I'm going to keep them there. And then I moved, Maryland was my biggest drop. I moved them down from 3 spots actually to number 7. So 10 through 7 for me is Nebraska, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Maryland. Give me your 6 through 4.
I flip-flopped Maryland and Purdue and left everything else the same. So Maryland dropped from 5 to 6. Purdue goes from 6 to 5, and then 4 through 1 are the exact same. So last week, my 5-6 played each other. My 7-8 played each other. So the winners, Illinois and Purdue, moved up. The losers moved down. That's all I changed.
Okay. I did move some. Eternal homer here. I have Iowa 6. I have Purdue 5. I have Illinois 4. Again, I don't think this is where they're going to finish the season. They're probably going to lose on Saturday. They're going to finish probably more in the 7 to 9 range. But as of right now, this is where they are. They are 5-1 on the season. Their only loss is to an Indiana team that they should have won. They should have won that game. Everybody else around them has lost. Most other teams have lost at least twice in the conference or twice overall. Illinois hasn't. So I moved them up to 4. Illinois and Purdue won this week. That's why I moved them up. Iowa and Maryland lost. I moved them down.
Yeah.
Pretty much what it comes down to. And then obviously Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State is still 3 through 1, I assume, for both of us.
I mean, there are 4 ranked teams in the AP poll in the Big Ten, and you've got them 1, 2, 3, 4. So
I'm not optimistic Illinois wins on Saturday, and I think they fall off a little bit. But for where they are right now, if we're just looking at where you are right now in the season, that's where they're at. And I think that their record shows that they have more wins on the season than anybody else in the conference, not named Michigan State or not named Michigan or Ohio State. So
they deserve it.
What do you want? What do you want from me, man? Where do you have them? You have them at 6, 7. Okay, all right. That's fair.
I mean, it's you said it 2 weeks. You said it 2 weeks ago, and they did it. Give me a reason to put you in the top 4. And
I wanted a reason for them to be not in 12.
Right, you moved them up 8 spots in 2 weeks, but I don't know how good Iowa and Wisconsin are. So
I'm sorry. Who do you have ahead of them?
Purdue and Maryland.
You have Maryland ahead of them.
Yeah.
Maryland, who is 1-2, and just lost a home game to Purdue.
To Purdue, who I have ahead of Maryland.
Okay. All right. That's fine.
Well, I mean,
that's fair. Listen,
prove me wrong.
Sure.
Give
they
them
won't.
ammunition.
They won't.
That's what I'm saying.
Whatever. Okay. Oh goodness, this is going to be a mess. Neither of us are really prepared for pick your pick. One of us did very well last week. One of us did very poorly. I went an abysmal 1-4 on the week, bringing my overall in the season to 18-13. Craig went 5-0 and has now jumped me in the standings by a full 2 games. So good for you, Craig. I don't know what I was doing last week, but that was awful. But yeah, so that's where we're at. Craig is 20 and
I
11 overall. I'm
initially
18
I
and 13.
forgot what game you picked last week, but initially when I had it in there, I had you at 0 and 5. What game did you get right? Do you remember?
No, because somebody forgot to post the graphic. So,
Oh,
uh,
Illinois. You've had Illinois over Iowa.
last week I picked Oklahoma. They lost. Utah. They lost. Miami. They lost. BYU. They lost. And the Illini. Yes, Illinois was my only successful pick last week. Yeah, abysmal. All right, this week's picks. I am not prepared for this. I don't know how this is going to go, but I'm going to tell you what they are. Minnesota at Illinois, Penn State at Michigan, Alabama at Tennessee, Oklahoma State at TCU, NC State at Syracuse, Mississippi State at Kentucky, USC at Utah, Kansas at Oklahoma, Wisconsin at Michigan State, and Clemson at Florida State. Those are the 10 picks that we are going to go with. Do we need to stick to formation here? Do I pick first? Since we're a little reversed on our how we've been doing this. So I'm going to pick first. Oh boy. And okay. I'm going to pick first. Give me a second to think about this.
Yeah, this might be a long segment.
I'm sure there's a right answer, but I don't know what it is. Oh boy. Is there a right answer? I don't know. I have to do well after what the mess I had last week. Yeah, this could be a long segment. I might have to do some editing on this one.
I've got mine if you want me to go first.
I'm going to take a road team. I'm going to take USC.
Okay. Good.
USC on the road at Utah. I picked Utah last week, and they did not do me any favors. I thought they would be better this year than they really have been. They're still in the top 25. They're 4-2 on the season, 2-1 overall. USC is pretty good. I'm going to take USC. That just makes the most sense to me, and that's what I'm going to do. So that's my first pick. Craig, you are up next.
Yeah, this is we talked about this before the show because I had for the first time I had more than 10 games listed for us to pick because there were a lot of this Saturday's games are the best we've had so far. So these 10 games are going to be tough. That being said, I am also going with a road team. And it's not so much an indictment or a praise of the team I'm picking to win. It is a indictment of the team that I think they're going to beat. I think Wisconsin is hyped up with Jim Leonard, and Michigan State is just reeling. So I'm going to take Wisconsin on the road at Michigan State. Line 7.5, and I don't know they cover that, but I do think Wisconsin wins. They're clearly the better team than Michigan State this year.
Yeah, that was another one that I was strongly considering. That makes a lot of sense. All right, my second pick. I'm going to go with God, these are so bad. These are good games. These are good games. This is so hard. Oh, why are we doing this to ourselves?
I love this.
I'll take Michigan. I think they're very. I think that could bite me, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to take Michigan over Penn State. Michigan's at home. They have been one of the better teams in the country all season long. Penn State hasn't lost yet, and this could be a big game for them. But I think the smart money there needs to be on Michigan. So that's what I'm going to do. Michigan at home against Penn State. I didn't really want to touch it, but these are all ugly. So.
All right. I am looking at a couple here. Let me just do some research on how they did last week. I think I'm going to go to the ACC for sure. And I am just going to stick with my gut here and take ranked team versus unranked team. It's on the road. It's in Florida. But I'm going to take Clemson to beat Florida State at Dope Campbell on Saturday night. I think Clemson, we talked about them last week. They've all but clinched their college football playoff appearance with their toughest part of the schedule behind them. And I think they're playing well, a lot better. Florida State's coming off a loss, I believe. Is that right? Did Florida State lose last week? I believe they lost last week. Yes, Florida State has lost 2 in a row to Wake and NC State. So I'm going to take Clemson.
Just so you know,
12.
This line has moved even since I looked at it earlier today. And I'm going to take it. I'm going to take Minnesota. I'm going to take Minnesota over Illinois.
It's moving even bigger.
Yeah, it's 6.5 now.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Minnesota. I want Illinois to win this game, obviously. And I think they're certainly capable of it. If Tommy DeVito does happen to play, which I don't think he will, I think they're going to have a pretty good shot to win the game. I think Minnesota's better than that. And I know I have them a little lower in my power rankings, but a lot of that has to do with that one loss that they had against, well, I don't remember when it was, and they weren't healthy. So I think they're the better team. I think they still have a good shot of ending up in Indianapolis for the Big Ten championship game, probably more so than Illinois does. I know it's at home. I know it would be a huge win for the Illini, but I'm going to take Minnesota for my third pick.
Yeah, I think PJ Fleck said today that Mo Ibrahim should be good to go, which is a huge boost for them, and Illinois will be without DeVito likely. So that's probably where I would have gone next. So, yep, good pick.
Okay, great.
So I am staying away from a couple games. So I'm going to go back to the ACC and take the Wolfpack on the road as well. So I've got 3 road teams. Don't love that, but I'm going to take NC State to win at Syracuse. Syracuse hasn't lost yet this year.
Correct.
Which just does not make sense. But
it's the year of the basketball
give me the
schools. All right. So Craig takes NC State to beat Syracuse. All right. We got 4 games left. I'll take the Tide. I'll take Alabama at Tennessee. I know Alabama's not looking particularly great. And Tennessee has been good. Tennessee hasn't lost yet this season. That's a top 6 matchup in Tennessee. I know this is probably famous last words. I think Alabama wins this game. So I'm going to take Nick Saban. Roll Tide.
Oh boy. Okay.
3 left.
These are obviously they're the toughest 3 because we haven't touched them yet, and I legitimately don't know which one to go with. One of them depends on a quarterback injury. Do I take another road team? I'm going to do it. I'm going to take another road team. So we're going to go 4 for 4 on the road. That's how things go, right? I'm going to take Oklahoma State. I don't like it, but TCU. Did you watch or see any of that TCU Kansas game?
I had a little of it. I had it on early on, but I wasn't watching it a ton.
Was another one that I took the over in. It was 69 was the over.
Nice.
So of course I took the over. It was 10-3 at halftime.
Yeah.
And the over pushed. 38-31.
It was
they scored 42 points in the third quarter.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Did I say Oklahoma State? I said Oklahoma State.
All right. That leaves us with 2 games left. Mississippi State at Kentucky and the Jayhawks at Oklahoma. Oklahoma's not been good. Kansas has been surprisingly good. Mississippi State and Kentucky have been about as advertised. I took Oklahoma last week and they screwed me. I'm gonna take Kentucky. I'm gonna take Kentucky at home. I don't even know if are they favored to win that game? I would probably guess not. No, Mississippi State by a touchdown. I'm gonna take Kentucky. Just to, if anything, appease the Kentucky fans that listen to our show.
That's the injury that I was talking about.
Yeah.
Kentucky's quarterback was hurt last week, and I don't know if he's going to play this week either.
I'm doing it anyway. Kentucky.
All right, so that means I get either Kansas or Oklahoma. What are we looking at here? OU's a 7.5-point favorite in Norman. Yeah, I think Kansas's quarterback got hurt last week. I remember now seeing this. So I'll take Boomer. I'll take Boomer to bounce back. Hopefully they do, because they just looked absolutely atrocious last week. Wow.
All right, so Craig takes Oklahoma.
That was tough.
Yeah, that was a hard one. Kudos to you for putting that together. Non-kudos to me for not looking into it earlier. All right, so just to recap, I took USC, Michigan, Minnesota, Alabama, and Kentucky. Craig took Wisconsin, Clemson, NC State, Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma.
Ride the wave.
Ride the wave. We did not mention the Roosevelt Belt. Oregon still holds the belt. I don't even know who they play this week, but it's not a game we're picking, which means that it's probably not worth our time. Who does Oregon play this week? Is Oregon even ranked? Are they off? They might be off this week.
I don't know that they're off. They just released their jerseys for their next game.
They're off this week.
They're off this week.
Yeah.
Okay, so their jerseys are for the next week. Gotcha.
The belt will not be up for grabs this week. All right, moving on. Illini hoops. It is officially college basketball preseason time. Preseason polls have been released. Big Ten Media Day is tomorrow and Wednesday. It's a 2-day event. It's in Minneapolis. I noticed that we did not get invited to fly with the media up to Minnie. We got to get on that list next year, huh?
Kent Brown, help us out.
Yeah, we'll work on that. Preseason media poll did come out today.
Maybe if one of us lived in Champaign still, that could be arranged. But
it would help.
We're in different states than Illinois.
Yeah. So, all right. Preseason poll. Indiana is the number one pick, or the preseason favorite in the Big Ten, receiving 19 first place votes. But the Illini, they're in there at the number 2 spot, had 6 first place votes, also had votes basically anywhere 1 through 11, I think, amongst the media members. The Big Ten's just kind of a mess. Indiana has seemed to be the favorite in the offseason, and they're clearly the favorite on this piece of paper, but this is an Indiana team that also barely made the tournament. And they have nearly the exact same team back. So I don't really know what to expect out of it. This is an Illinois team that is entirely new, other than Coleman Hawkins and RJ and Luke. There's not a lot returning on this team either. It's going to be an interesting season of the Big Ten. We'll just put it that way. But Indiana is the preseason favorite from the media's perspective. Illinois is the number 2 team. Michigan 3, Michigan State 4, Purdue 5, Ohio State 6, Iowa 7. Wisconsin is at the 9 spot. Any surprises there from you looking at that 1 through 14 from the media?
Do they?
I mean, I know preseason polls matter, but
no, they don't at all. I know. Do they release who voted for who?
I don't know if they do. I think it's up to the writers to release if they did or not. But somebody had it, because I think Scott Ritchie tweeted it out.
Scott Ritchie tweeted where Illinois received votes. Yeah,
right. So he had to have that information from somewhere.
One person voted him 11th. One person voted him 8th. One person voted him 5th. Everyone else had him top 4. What surprises me most is that Purdue got a first place vote and Iowa got a first place vote. Yeah. Because I don't think either of those teams are top. Well, I don't think either of them are top 5 in the Big Ten. I would have Ohio State over Purdue into the top 5, and Purdue at 6 or 7. But yeah, like you said, preseason polls don't matter.
Last year Wisconsin was picked to finish like 10th or something, and they ended up winning the whole thing. So hard to know, but either way, it's kind of interesting that, Illinois is still kind of in the mix here despite losing everybody. Just some other preseason things. Hunter Dickinson was selected as the preseason player of the year. receiving 14 first place votes. Trace Jackson Davis was the second leading vote getter there. No surprise. I mean, they're clearly the 1-2 going into the season. They were also the only 2 unanimous selections for the all conference first team. Zach Edey was on that list as well. Chris Murray from Iowa. He made the list. Terrence Shannon was a second team pick, which I think is about fair. I think he's going into the season. I think he's, one of the 7 or 8 best players, probably talent wise, in the conference. Again, these are preseason things. They don't really matter, but they're at least something for people like you and I to talk about. Matthew Meyer, Coleman Hawkins, and RJ Melendez all also received votes for preseason All Big Ten team. But Terrence was the only player on the first or second team. Notably, though, Wisconsin had 2 players selected. I think they're the only school that did. Both Chucky Hepburn and Tyler Wall were named second team. No other school had.
Indiana has a first and a second team.
Oh, you're right. Yep, Xavier Johnson is on second team. Good call. Other things, Sky Clark had the second highest votes for preseason freshman of the year. Ty Rogers was also in the mix. He received a vote there, tied for 4th. And then they added the Big Ten preseason transfer of the year. That's a new thing. And Illinois had the 2 top vote getters for there, Terrence Shannon and Matthew Meyer.
By a big margin.
By a big margin, yeah. Especially for Terrence had 16 first place votes for that. Meyer had 4. So they were the clear 1 and 2. Basketball season is about here. As I mentioned, media days are here this week. We know schedules, we know times. They will be here before you know it. But hey, football season is still going on, and we're still caring about Illinois football. So, I'm not quite as excited about this as I probably would be normally.
No, for sure. But I think this might be a little bit of a different year in the Big Ten. I feel like the last couple of years has been very top heavy. Look at the standings. Like last year, Illinois, Wisconsin, Purdue kind of separated themselves as the top 3, 15 wins, 14 wins, and then Iowa, Rutgers, Ohio State, Michigan State, and Michigan, like 12 and 11 wins. I think there's going to be more parity this year.
Probably.
I don't think any of these teams are going to be 1 seeds, maybe not even 2 seeds. Like the best Big Ten team in the NCAA tournament might be a 4 seed, 3 or 4 seed. I don't know that any of these 14 teams will be national championship caliber. So it could make for a very fun Big Ten season and very frustrating Big Ten season at the same time, because I don't know that Illinois is going to pull away and have blowout wins like they've had in the past couple seasons. So
yeah, it's going to be a very, very different year for the Illini, especially.
Like you said, you put all this info in. It wouldn't even cross my mind. I know I've had a busy weekend, but
it just came out today. Yeah.
Yeah. I never would have even thought, oh, hey, Big Ten basketball media days this week. Probably because Illinois football's ranked. Like my background on my phone is Illinois football. Like that's never happened before. So it's like times are changing, and I'm just, while I'm ready for basketball, I'm not really ready for basketball. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Give it another couple weeks. Yeah, it is here. When is the season opener?
I think early November.
I had that on my calendar at one point. They have an exhibition game 7th. Coming up here on the 28th. And then, yes, they open up the season against Eastern on November 7th. So about 4 weeks away. 4 weeks from
about a month away.
4 weeks from today. So it'll be here before you know it. But yes, we're still in football mode, because that's the thing that Illinois fans are all about right now. NFL, interesting move, I think, out of Charlotte. Panthers cut ties with their head coach, Matt Rule.
Don't think that was much of a surprise.
No, I mean, they've kind of been an abysmal franchise for a while. It's a surprise in that, I don't know. I kind of think any coach that gets fired during the season kind of is always a surprise, but that's just maybe in me. They've kind of been an abysmal franchise for a while, and they can't seem to really get anything together. So he's out the door. We'll see what comes from that. Anything else NFL that worth talking about from yesterday?
No, but I think that's important that now that he's out of a job, he can accept a college job sooner. I think that's where he goes. I thought he was a weird college to pro jump in the first place.
Yeah.
So I think he'll go back to college, and there are plenty of opportunities. I know he's been mentioned at Nebraska, and what's the other big one?
Georgia Tech,
Nebraska, Georgia
Wisconsin,
Tech. Although
Arizona State,
there's a lot of buzz at Dion at Georgia Tech. You mentioned it a couple weeks ago. I didn't think it was a fit, but the more I hear, the more I'm like, Atlanta's a hotbed.
It's not bad. I mean, I think that if he's not going to have a top tier job open, I don't think Georgia Tech's a bad fit for him.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. But
anyways, we weren't talking about him. Rule, I think, would be a good fit in Nebraska, which kind of worries me because he was a pretty good college coach.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think Nebraska could also do a lot better because I don't know. I'll just stop rambling now.
Why? You're good at it.
Because I'm not paying attention because the dogs are barking like crazy at something outside. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, whatever. All right, we'll move on to baseball. Do you want to?
Please don't.
Do you want to have a? Do you want to have a moment? Do you have anything you want to talk about from the weekend, baseball related?
Friday afternoon just broke me. I mean, I don't know if you saw my tweet after the game Friday. I was just devastated Friday afternoon when they lost game 1, up 2-0 in the 9th. You've had one of the best closers in baseball all season, and he gives up 4. And then the guy who comes in gives up 2 more, and he gave up 6 in the 9th. It stuck a dagger in the heart because I knew that it likely was not going to get to Sunday at that point. So I did not. No, I guess I did watch the last 2 innings of the Cardinals on Saturday. But it was pretty devastating. I did a blog. Did you see? I did a blog.
I did. I read your blog too. Very proud of you.
I did a blog. I'm going to try and start doing that. Just if I'm sitting and watching TV, I might start writing some thoughts down and putting that on my blog. I thought they were set up to have a great postseason run, and then the 9th inning Friday I'm sure you've had those moments too where there's just no coming back from that. Like if they would have given up 3 and it was 3-2 going into the 9th, that's a completely different story than being up 2-0 going into the 9th, and then in the blink of an eye it's 6-2. You're like, oh my God, like just deflating, demoralizing, heartbreaking, all of that. The saving grace was Saturday. Pujols ends his career with a base hit, and then Yachty in the bottom of the 9th, 2 outs. He gets a base hit so he didn't make the last out of his career, So those were some cool moments. And I tweeted it Saturday. It was like I didn't even care that they lost. I felt it coming. Friday just broke me so bad that I didn't even care. But it's like your Cardinals fans are not going to forget this season because of all the moments that have happened. This year was full of them, from Yachty and Waino's record to Albert's record, Goldschmidt likely MVP, Arenado top 3 probably. It's like 2 of the 3 MVP candidates. Like it was just a crazy season that it will be hard to duplicate. So overall, a great season. It's just I hated, and it hurt so much the way that it ended.
Yeah. Not how you want to see that happen. Felt for you, felt for the Cardinal fans because that was ugly.
At the same time, I watched the Mets Braves game last night, and it's like I'm not stressing about my team now. I can watch the rest of the postseason.
You could be a Mets fan.
We're not in as bad a situation as the Mets. Mets fans are broken.
Yeah. Good friend of mine is a Mets fan, and I've already had to, talk him off a ledge once today. So, the only one of the 3 series went to 3 games. That was the Mets and Padres series. The other 3 We're all over after Saturday, but the Mariners advanced, the Guardians advanced. Then we talked about the Phillies advancing and the Padres advancing. So that does set up the ALDS and the NLDS that will start on Tuesday. Astros, Mariners, Guardians, Yankees, Dodgers, Padres, and Phillies, Braves. We haven't done a playoff prediction. Do you want to do that now?
I didn't even think of it last week.
Yeah, we had other things going on. That's what happens when Illinois football plays well, and we're already running long on shows.
Yeah.
At this point, we know the 8 teams that are in the DS. You want to make your predictions? Who's going to the World Series? Just give me who's going to the World Series and who wins.
Right. I'm gonna go off the wall. I don't want to pick chalk, so I'm gonna go off the wall, and I'm gonna go Mariners in the AL and Phillies. I'm gonna go Mariners and Phillies. I said we were on a trip somewhere with all my buddies in St. Louis, and it was the golf trip. It was when the Cubs swept the Phillies, and one of my buddies was like, we need the Phillies to keep winning, or we need the Phillies to keep winning, Brewers to lose. I do not want to face the Brewers. I'm like, dude, I'd rather face the Brewers than the Phillies. Yeah. Are you kidding me? That Phillies lineup, holy smokes.
Yeah.
And then they've got Wheeler and Nola, like as 1-2. That's way better. Like the Brewers have Burns, Woodruff, and Peralta, but their lineup is not that scary. No. Like the Phillies are way better. So I'm gonna go Mariners and Phillies. Oh, I never thought I would say this, but Phillies, I guess, to win the World Series.
That's the World Series scenario I would like to watch. I don't think network executives from Fox will want that World Series.
Yeah.
That's what I would prefer we'll get, but I'm going to say it'll be Braves and Yankees. Dodgers and Astros would be the smart money. That's the chalk, but there's just something about that Yankee team and that Braves team.
I thought about the Yankees, but
I'll go Braves over Yankees for the World Series.
Back to back.
Yeah.
Wow. I did want to mention, did you see the Contreras stuff today? Or yesterday, I guess it was.
Wilson Contreras? Former Cardinal Wilson Contreras?
Former Cardinal?
Or future Cardinal Wilson Contreras?
Yeah. I think it was Bob Nightingale said that the Cubs have like no intention of bringing him back. Like they know that he's gone and they're not even going to try and sign him, which means Wilson Contreras will be a Cub next year. Because Bob Nightingale is never right.
Well, yeah. What's happening there is that the Cubs want to move on, and the Cubs want to prioritize defense and
analytics
and the other things that comes with catching, and they want to find the offense from elsewhere. They're gonna extend a qualifying offer to Wilson.
Yeah, they said that today.
Hopefully he finds something better than that. I would love to keep him. I think this scenario, they're gonna move on from him defensively. If he comes back to the Cubs, he's gonna be a part-time catcher, part-time first baseman, and a DH. And he doesn't want to do that. I don't blame him. I mean, I don't know where his future is. I mean, there are some teams that don't care how good of a defensive catcher you are. If you can hit, the way he does. But as I've already said on this show, part of the reason he's had such a good offensive year is because they've had a good defensive catcher to back him up. So he hasn't had to do it all the time. He's been able to DH. So if you're going to be in that situation, you have to give him that opportunity, or else you're not going to get the offensive production that you want.
That's where I don't think he comes to the Cardinals, because they're of the same philosophy. They want their catcher to be a game manager and call the game and play defense, and he is not that. So the Wilson Contreras to the Cardinals talk, I just do not buy into whatsoever.
He is not Yadi Molina, and Cardinal fans who are used to Yadi Molina, I think we've already had this discussion on the show. Cardinal fans that are used to Yadi Molina will not like Wilson Contreras. You might like his personality when he's on your team, and you might like his bat if you have somebody else that's giving him breaks, but you will not like him as a defensive catcher if you're trying to compare him to Yadi. You just won't.
That's the thing, and there's not a DH spot in St. Louis for him, because you'll have Yepez playing DH because he's there's two loaded, so I don't see that.
All right, we're running out of time. Anything, movies or TV you want to talk about real quick before we sign off?
We watched Elvis last week.
Did you? What'd you think?
It's very similar to another movie. I don't know what it is, but I remember telling you about it.
Bohemian Rhapsody?
Yes. that they're like, I went into it kind of wanting to learn like little nuggets or tidbits about Elvis, and I didn't learn anything about his life or anything. It was more so about his a-hole manager.
Yeah.
But I mean, the music was good. I thought Austin Butler was
Austin
very
Butler's
good.
great. He's going to be an Oscar nominee for that role. The whole Tom Hanks thing it took me out of that movie. It really did. Yeah. It's
the
fine.
Other thing go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The other thing we're watching is Dahmer on Netflix.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard
4 or 5 episodes into that.
A lot of people are watching it. I haven't done it yet. I might at some point, but
I'm okay with it. And like, I could binge that kind of show for episodes and episodes. But Christy's like, I can only handle like 1 or 2 at a time because it's like like skin crawling, like creepy.
Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna be for me. A lot of people have said I need to watch it, but we'll have to see. I finally went and saw Bros, the Billy Eichner.
Oh, I was gonna ask you about this
comedy.
last week. The whole
I finally saw it this weekend. It's really good. We don't have enough time for me to like go into a rant as to why people aren't going to the theater to see this movie. It's not really whatever. We're running out of time. But it's really good. If you haven't seen it yet, go see Bros. It'll eventually be on Peacock. You can watch later, but it's the best rom-com we've had since Palm Springs in 2020, probably. It's really good. So, all right, we're running out of time. We're going to shut it down here. He's Craig. I'm Logan. Like us, share, subscribe. Please, we're looking to get to 200 subscribers on YouTube. That would be awesome. We'll go Illini. We'll see you next week. Bye.